Hi, welcome to another class in Reality Transurfing. This one is a really good one, and it's one of my favorite subjects ever because it's just so fucking mind-blowing. Today we're talking about the plait, aka the braid. This is the antenna to the unfathomable force that rules the world. If you don't want to learn how to literally shift lifelines before your very eyes, then don't stay for this class. I'm not joking here. This is one of the coolest and most powerful practices in all of RT. It's absolutely insane how effective it is. So, first of all, before I get into what the plait actually is, I need to remind you a little bit of how reality works, right? We are, at any given moment, at all times, we are literally hopping through billions of frames per second. Life is not this sort of like create as we go phenomenon. There is a space called the alternatives space that holds all of the frames that ever were, is, or has been in order. And a series of these frames is called a sector. A sector of these frames is called a lifeline. Or in the 2D kind of idea world, we refer to this as film reels because we are projectors of consciousness. And reality is kind of like a film in the sense of there are these frames, and within these frames consist of scripts and scenes. And they're playing out as you go along. The frame that I'm currently in right now, or the scene that I'm currently in, is me speaking to the camera, and it's gonna move basically on its own. I set the direction and it's got a life of its own. And so you don't really create as you go along. You can't battle with the obstacles on your path. The best way to change your life for the better is to shift film reels. And you do that various different ways. One is through your intention, intending on what you want to get done and allowing outer intention to fulfill that. So number one is intention. The other element, how you can switch film reels, and one of them is like long-term, and that's identity. And that has to do also with your state of being. These are not necessarily separate concepts. We're separating them in order to kind of have a discussion around them. But today, and they're all kind of amalgamation of all. So if I have the intention to have an amazing class and presentation with you, I'm also gonna enter the state of being of confidence, of intelligence, of that I have something really interesting and awesome to say. So they all work together. But ultimately you can think of the braid as your antenna for intention. It amplifies your intention. You can set your intention without the antenna. There's lots of concepts in various schools of thought. Abraham Hicks calls about intention setting. As soon as you get to a new sort of beat in the scene, whether you're getting into the car, you set the intention to have a great trip. If you're about to have a call with your friend, you have the intention of being a great listener and having great advice to provide. If you're about to have an interview, you set the intention of absolutely fucking rocking it. And so that's the idea around intention. And it's all about, for us, it's about flipping different reels. And so your antenna, when you activate it and you set the intention, it amplifies your ability to shift to the film reel of your desire. And I've done this on many, many different occasions, and it's absolutely phenomenal. It's absolutely mind-blowing and so exciting and fucking cool when it happens. And this can be done for, and I'm gonna talk a lot about this later, but this can be done for both, like this happens really effectively for for goals that are within near future and you have low importance on them, it happens instantaneously and it's absolutely phenomenal. And also mid-tier goals, but you can also use this for long-term goals, but there you have to apply it systematically for a significant period of time. I'm gonna get more into that later, but the next thing that I wanna talk about is how to really kind of what the plate is. But first, I need to also bring about the idea of attention again. So reality is also like a mirror. So we have the projector of reality, but it's also like a mirror. And so maybe I should delete this part. So since time immemorial, this marker is running out. Well, I guess we'll use this one. So since time immemorial, the ancients have always known that there are two sides to reality. On one side of reality is the image, and on the other side of the mirror, this is a mirror, is the reflection. The reflection is the physical world that you know and love, and the image is the metaphysical. All physical items, objects, people, events, scenarios have an energetic primary. So this is always going to be the cause. It's always going to sit within the energetic realm before it becomes physical. Because everything is a manifestation of the one unmanifest. So the image side of the mirror, the same way if you were to stand in front of a mirror, you would never expect the reflection in the mirror to smile before you do. Right? You're on the real side, and the real side is the image side. It is on the metaphysical side. You are truly in spirit, and it's always going to be the cause, and the reflection is always going to be the effect. The physical is always the effect of, for example, your frequency, your state of being, the intention that you state. The reason this is the case is because we know from the law of correspondence that everything from the unmanifested, being God, which is referred to as the unmanifested, goes into first spirit, then the mental plane, and then the physical. Okay, so because this is all metaphysical, there's a point where I'm talking about this braid. In order to make an effect with the plate, you have to grab your attention. When you don't have your attention, you're stuck in the script of reality, and the reality, your life, is dragging you by the collar, making you react to whatever is already set within that script. But in order to become a lucid player within this game of life, you have to wake up. You have to, I see myself, so I'm aware of what I am doing, how I'm doing it, and you have to see reality. You have to also see the environment. You have to be able to see both of these at the same time. So being into the center screen, not on the inner screen nor on the outer screen, but both at the same time in the center. When you have your attention on yourself, you also cross over onto the image side of the mirror, and then you can actually take effect and make change on your life. And so these are just two ideas that I want to bring back. It's kind of like a review from what we spoke about before in order to have the discussion on the plate be very effective. Okay, so one is that reality is like a film reel, and in order to make change, we have to jump film reels, right? That's how we make the greatest amount of change within our lives, and the way that we don't continue our life based off of the lifeline that we're currently in, because we want to make that change. In order to make that change, before anything ever happens, no matter what we do, we always need to have our attention. And when we wake up, when we see ourselves and we see reality, we move out of the physical here, and we jump over into the mental / spiritual, in the energetic realm, onto the image side of the mirror, where we can actually make a change. And from there we set our intention. From there we establish our state of being. From there we we take hold of our thoughts and our emotions in a deliberate way. So these are two very important ideas that we need to kind of keep in mind before we move forward with understanding how powerful the braid is and how to properly use it. So as I mentioned, the plait is an antenna to amplify intention. So there is two forms of intention. There is inner intention and there is outer intention. Let's review these real quick in order for us to be on the same page. First, intention. So intention is really hard to explain, okay? It has nothing to really do with the mind. The mind sort of sets the direction and then intention sort of takes over. If you remember how, like when you first rode your bike on two wheels for the first time without training wheels, that right there is intention. The mind no longer had to do anything, right? It was like, oh shit, I'm not needed, and it let go and it felt like you could fucking fly. When people get into flow state, that's like pure sort of intention. When there's like this wonderful clip of Ayrton Senna, and he's talking about when he's driving around Monaco, and he was like saying he was just pure consciousness. Something else took over and he was cruising past people in ways people have never seen before. That's intention, but you can practice intention every single day when it comes to inner intention. Inner intention is the way that I'm speaking right now. My mind cannot possibly keep up with the words that need to come out of my mouth. My mind just set the direction that I'm going to talk about, inner intention and outer intention, and it's trying to stay on its toes. But my mouth is just going off right now. The way that you walk, that's intention. You don't have to think about it at all. And so inner intention is applying intention to your own personal force. So it's like your own personal power. In transurfing, it has sort of like we kind of almost think about, I don't want to say it, don't think about it this way, but like sort of in a negative way. You don't make things happen in your life with inner intention. We only try to focus on outer intention. Inner intention is also located right here between your eyebrows. You know when you're like kind of scrouching your forehead in order to figure out a Sudoku puzzle or a crossword, or whenever you're like working on something intellectually or trying to get the faucet to stop running, whatever that might be, it's focused right up here. So this same, let me actually go back to this. I also want to define intention one more time. So we go back to the idea of raising your arm. I can have the desire to raise my arm and nothing happen. I can also make the decision to raise my arm and nothing happen. Intention is what transforms desire into actual action. That's the energy between these two worlds of desire and action. The definition for intention is resoluteness in the decision to have and act. So resoluteness is a key term here. I am resolute in having this. It's going to happen no matter what. There is no force in here. There's no force in me having a conversation right now or lifting my arm. I choose to throw this pen and I catch this pen. This is resoluteness in the decision to have and act. So this can be attributed to your body, your personal power here, and then also you can extend that to the wider world to make the world move in a way that you desire through outer intention. Right here. And so this is the force. This force is not yours, but you're connecting with it. And you're connecting with it via the plait. So this is your personal power and this is your power extended out into the world. So you can say that's external sort of power. And one of the great examples, an easy one, would be finding a parking spot right about this time, Matt, so this is like December 22nd as of this recording. It's gonna come out on the 23rd. It's like one of the last days that you can possibly go Christmas shopping. If you decide to go Christmas shopping at a mall, you'd think, inner intention or idea would have like, there's no way that there could possibly be a parking spot right outside the store where I need to go because the whole world and their grandmother is out shopping, last minute presents, etc. But outer intention, if you set the intention and you activate the plate and you can either visualize or use the thought form and just have a resoluteness in the decision to have an act, that there be a free parking space as soon as you come in, a car's pulling out, as if it were reserved for you, then it shall happen. So that's an easy example of outer intention. But the shit can also be applied to our wider, big, hairy, audacious ass goals, okay? So that's the difference between inner and outer intention. Oh yeah, I mentioned that the location within your body for inner intention is in your forehead between your eyebrows, right over here when you scrounge. I don't think I'm saying that word right, but it's just not coming to me. But you know what I mean. Okay, cool. And then outer intention, that's located right here where it's called the assemblage point, and that is at the back between your shoulder blades. So I think now I am going to green screen and it's located right here. So there's this idea that comes from the Toltec. The Toltec are the latest descendants of the Atlanteans, and they were masters of shifting their assemblage point. And the assemblage point is the connection where basically they called it the cocoon. We have like these threads of energy around our body, and then this luminous threads, they refer to it as the cocoon, and it all kind of comes together at the assemblage point. And when your assemblage point shifts, that's what also shifts your perception of reality. And the way that we move our assemblage point is via the braid. And so the braid allows for this to happen. This came to us, we were made aware of this through the works of Carlos Castaneda and I don't know how to pronounce his name, Teun Mares. Teun Mares. And so you can Google those two names if you want to go further. Some of the books from Carlos Castaneda are absolutely fantastic. One of the first ones that became extremely popular was his working with a shaman by the name of Don Juan, the teachings of Don Juan, who was a shaman of the Toltec lineage. And another one, but it's not coming to mind. Okay, cool. So this assemblage point, this is what we're actually shifting. And when we shift this assemblage point, we are shifting our perceptions of reality. Reality is happening all at once. So we're really shifting our perceptions across the various different frames within the alternatives space. And the plate is how we do it. So this plate is an energy plexus. When it is not activated, it sits from the bottom of the head down to the back where your assemblage point is, at the back between the shoulder blades. It kind of sits relatively flat, but when it is activated, it lifts up, as you can see in this image over here. And when that is activated, then you are connected or more connected, your intention is amplified. Now, back in the day, this is like a phantom limb. Over the years though, since humanity has not used it and has not been trained to use it, it has atrophied. So if you put your attention, right, but it's still there, it's like a phantom limb. And what I want to teach everyone, including my students within the community, and even myself, is to basically bring it back the same way and make it as apparent, as useful, as common as using our arm and leg. I'm going to speak more about this later, but it just kind of came to mind and I'm just flowing with things. So The reason I'm saying that is right now this limb has atrophied and we want to kind of bring it back to life. And what you don't use, it goes away. What's that saying? What you don't use, you abuse. No. Whatever you don't use, it always degrades. And what you do use, you feed energy, you feed life into it, and it comes back alive. The reason I'm saying this is for some of you, if you put your attention right now in that location between your shoulder blades at the back, you will feel an energy. You'll feel an energy, you'll feel it lift up, some more than others. It doesn't have to look exactly like this image or feel as far back. I myself, there's times where I can literally feel it all the way when I'm like in a deeper focused meditation, feel it all the way from the back of my head and just like waving far out. Other times when I use it on a daily practice and just getting shit done, I just feel this sort of like energy right at the back between my shoulder blades. And for some of you, you're not gonna be able to feel it at all. You're like, fuck, I can't feel it, it's not working for me. Stop, it will. Just pretend right now. It takes practice and it takes effort, right? All of this stuff, it takes patience and it takes persistence. You cannot be a magician by just reading fucking books, watching fucking YouTube videos. You have to get down to fucking practice, okay? You have to get into it. I don't mean to swear like that, I just get a little bit passionate sometimes. So that's the plate. Now we're gonna go into the algorithm. That's just a fancy word of me trying to say how we actually use it, okay? Cool. We have to remember that we're not actually creating reality all on its own. We are illuminating it. We are selecting it. We are sort of activating it. And it's kind of done on its own because the wheel, it's always in motion. We're always thinking, we're always moving through the various different lifeline until something dramatic happens and then we make a decision and we make a move. But this is a way of actually being a conscious, and I know the word creator is not correct, a conscious selector. Let's just use the word creator. A conscious creator in your life. You're always creating your life, either you're doing it consciously or unconsciously. But the point of this is to be a conscious creator and also manage the event, being able to manage the events that occur in our life. So this is the algorithm. There was basically 3 steps. And let's just keep it simple at 3 steps. Okay? So the first step that we always need to be aware of is to wake up. You must wake up, darling. So this is the I see myself. I, she, reality. I see reality. Number 2, very simple. Activate the plate. Number 3, project desired image. Okay, and this can be done through 2 ways, like a quick visualization, or even a thought form. So when you're driving, you can't close your eyes and visualize. You can actually you kind of send an image forward, even if your eyes are open, but you can also just use a thought form. And if you're doing deeper long-term goal type stuff, then you want to kind of drop in, get really relaxed, activate the plate, and then project forward an image. So let's just talk first about this. So let's talk about waking up. Waking up is so effing important. When anything happens in your life, whether it is an irritation, a frustration, a problem comes up, you have to do absolutely anything, no matter what. Wake up, right? I say, I see myself, I see reality. Be very conscious. This is how you step from the reflection of the mirror to the other side of the mirror, from the effect to the cause side of the mirror. And then you activate the plate. You simply put your attention on your back between your shoulder blades, and then you hold it there for a second. You kind of want to feel it. If you can't feel it right away, a trick that I use is basically taking my attention to the back of my head over here, and then drawing a line, an arrow straight down up into the point of the assemblage point between the back and the shoulder blades. and then I draw it kind of down fast and then I raise it up. That helps me feel it a little bit more. And over time, you will kind of develop your own practices and ways of, and hacks for how to activate it when, you know, some days it's not really kind of working. And so from that point, right, you then keep your attention on the plate. And it can just feel like a little energy piece right there. And if you can't feel it, remember, just pretend and keep practicing. And over time, it will come into being. You might just not, frankly, you just might not have enough practice with feeling energy and working with energy within your own body. But that doesn't mean that you can't make it happen. And then project an image, the scene that you want to see come into fulfillment. And ideally, you also want to kind of place a thought form on top of that. And so you keep your attention on the plate while projecting in your mind's eye. And so, and then, or if you're driving and you're dealing with traffic, there was one time when I was driving here in Romania in the Carpathian Mountains, which are really fucking sick, twisty, windy roads, forest type of mountains, awesome. I had like a stick shift car. And I got stuck behind 3 massive lumber carrying trucks. And they're like, they had 2, it was 3 of them, but it was 6 because they had like 2 trailers each. And there was like no way I could overpass these guys because they were like there's too far. Anyways, basically I was like, oh shoot, I can actually just set the plate on this. I set the plate and I couldn't project forward with like an image with my eyes closed. So I just set the thought form that I have a clear road ahead and I'm driving at my own pace. 1 minute later, I just pull over to the side of the road to do the number 1 because I really had to go and there was no washroom in sight. And then I get back into my car. 3 minutes later, I just saw them on this pulled over at an opening on the side of the road to let a few of the cars pass, or they were just pulled over to the side. And then as soon as I pulled up in front of them, I saw them move back in again. So they basically, the reel shifted to the point where I was able to overpass these trucks. What I'm saying here is that you can do this while you're in motion. You don't need to kind of fully take a minute. And based on that, let's just talk about the time frame that you're projecting. All you need when it comes to stuff like this is 1 to 2 minutes. 1 to 2 minutes of having a plate activated and projecting it forward, okay? And that's the algorithm. Wake up, do not hope, do not intend for your life to change. Stop battling with the obstacles on your path. Just activate the plate and literally shift reels and watch how quickly you are able to literally manipulate reality to your desired choosing. It's absolutely insane and incredible. And then you activate the plate, you just put your attention on your shoulder blades until you can feel it. It might take a little bit of time, and if you can't feel it right away, just pretend, and over time you will accumulate the power, and then project your desired image. You can use a visualization by literally visualizing in your mind's eye then while keeping your attention on the back. So you're doing it, it's a little bit tricky at first, but you're gonna figure it out, and what your desired scene is, and then you can also apply a thought form on top of that, meaning like, if it's part of a scene, you go, hey man, like if it's a friend that you want to meet and you want to run into and maybe, you know, whatever, say you're leaving your house and there's someone that you're going on a walk and there's someone that you really want to bump into. Maybe it's a cute boy or girl and you just go, activate the plate and you imagine giving them a hug and then saying hi and like then feeling the emotion of squeezing them and them seeing them excited to embrace you and you having the feeling of being excited to embrace them. It's absolutely incredible what can happen when you do this. So let's talk about now what we can apply the plate to, because there are so many things. We're basically applying the plate to all of reality. And so all of reality is everything that can fit in it. The plate can be applied to anything, but I think it's important for me to bring a little bit more detail on what's possible, particularly when it comes to, let's talk about our goals, right? In traditional transurfing, we have visualizations, and these are in the form of slides. And people ask me, so when do I use the plate? When do I use the slide? I use slides, but I activate the plate when I use slides. Slides and plates are basically kind of like sort of relatively similar. There's some other ideas around slides as well, in terms of you can kind of keep a slide constantly running in the background. And so you don't have to be activating the plate. You don't want to have the plate constantly activated, actually. As soon as that was the last thing I shouldn't, this is the other thing, I should have said this before. Let's go back a little bit. When you're done with your visualization or your intention setting, whether it's a minute or two, then drop the plate. You don't want to keep your plate active. You don't want to be walking around having the plate activated. Then weird things will happen. You can go ahead and test it out. Go ahead and test it out in public, but don't play around with it. It needs to be used specifically for specific tasks. You can use it for absolutely anything, basically, but be purposeful with it. Just don't have it dangling and waving around, okay? There's another thing I wanted to say, but here's another thing. Yes, I did say if you have a problem, if you feel irritated or whatever, just don't hope that something's going to change. Change it yourself, mold reality. That being said, don't do so from a point of being anxious. You'll have an opposite effect. Whatever sort of state that you're in, energy is going to be fed within the algorithm. And so you want to do this stuff from a place of just complete calm and assurance that you have complete resoluteness in your own decision and to have a particular desired reality. So do not do any sort of visualization or activation of any kind from a place of actual frustration, anger, fear, or anxiety, okay? Glad I remembered that. Okay, so now we'll talk about big goals and everyday type of goals. So slides, we have target slides. We talked about this in the last class. And then we have the action slide. So your target slide does two things. This is when it comes to your big goals. So you can apply a target slide to any sort of goal, and it's like the kind of more far out things. If it's an everyday sort of scenario, like say for example, your phone got a cracked screen, or there's some work that needs to get done around the house, for example, and workers are coming, or you're trying to find the right party or vendor to fix the garage door. But you call one place and they don't have the particular part of your antiquated mechanism or whatever. You activate the plate and you imagine you being satisfied with the work and shaking the vendor's hand that everything got fixed. That's not a target slide, right? That's kind of like using it for everyday stuff around in your life to solve your problems in a much more easy, chill, relaxed fashion. Your target slide is for big goals. Most of us don't just want to manifest some sort of money, right? I manifested $200,000 because I was finally going after my dream, which is what I'm doing right now. And that came in order to help me support and provide the resources for that, in addition to other stuff. But that's not what I want. I don't even think about that. Honestly, I don't even think about it. I'm grateful for it. I'm genuinely grateful for it, but I don't think about it. People's true desires when it comes to manifestation is to live a life of purpose, at least particularly for males. And I'm sure there's a lot for females as well, but like we want to become someone. It's all about expansion. Our true soul's purpose is to expand. It came here to vibrate at a particular frequency, and it wants to overcome its fears. It wants to see all that it can be And so it's all about expansion. Expansion is when you take over the shadowy realms within your psyche and within your life. And so you have that purpose, and when you have that dream and goal and idea of what to become, then you take that scene and that existence in life and you package it into a target slide. And a target slide is extremely effective for two particular reasons. It sets the trajectory of the alternative space in the correct direction so from this lifeline to the lifeline that you want to end up. In addition, it also widens the comfort zone. What we mean by this is this helps turn belief into knowing. You have to truly know that something is going to happen and also that it's for you. We go back to that example of luxury. There's certain people in this life, say for example, even probably watching, if they step into a luxury store, they won't feel comfortable in there, but they want to have a luxurious life. But they genuinely will feel, the store individual, the person who's at the store, will literally be able to sniff them out just based off of the energy that they come into the room with. They're afraid of asking for what the price is. They'll be afraid to try on actual clothes. And they'll be able to get sniffed out right away by the person who's attending to the store because they know that they don't belong. And so when you know that you do not belong, you give that off as well. And so when it comes to your big goal, so whether it's for me, I want to be able to communicate this knowledge on a world stage, that's a huge, big, hairy, audacious goal. I have to know that that's for me, that life is waiting for me. And it's absolutely mine without a question. And a target slide and visualizing that thing helps bring it into form. It helps you move from false belief, which actually creates more doubt, and it makes you swing on this pendulum back and forth, and you go from excited belief, oh, it's gonna happen, to, oh my God, oh my life, and that just keeps you more kind of set back every single time and draws out the movement towards that goal. And it helps you move into actual knowing because you are getting your mind used to it because you're presenting it with facts. And what I mean by that is that the mind cannot tell the difference between what is imagined and what is real. And I gave examples of this in that class on slides with the whole piano thing where they hooked up people to brain scanners, and one group actually played the various different keys and another group imagined playing the same keys, and literally in the imaging scanning, the same parts of the brain were lit up. And they also did a control group where they weren't doing anything and they were brain dead. No offense, not literally, but on the scan. And then there's your action slide. And so an action slide is visualization of the process at the current stage within the transfer chain. The process at the current, I said stage, but we can also say link in the, right? These lifelines, it's not this quantum sort of leaping type of thing. They're actually connected in links, in homogeneous links, right? And so from, my goal could be 3 years off. The difference here is not only in terms of time, but also I can't be here. There was a time when I was really afraid to show up on camera and speak to this knowledge in a way that I am right now from such a guttural and raw place. So me just first showing up on camera, that was the first thing. I had to make that happen. Then I had to maybe develop some skills on actually presenting to camera and using my real voice. Then there's gonna be another stage that I have to go through. And it's your own self-development, because you're also moving towards the identity that is this person at the last goal. And so the action slide, you're visualizing the completion of the goal at the current link within the transfer chain that you're currently in. And so, for example, that could be as simple as, before I did this video, I set the intention to make a great video, to have a great class, to speak eloquently, confidently, to speak with power and have power speak from me. Cool? Awesome. So, your plate can be used for your target slide, for visualizing your big goal that is far off, for the kind of life you will have. And you can go through various different scenes with that. It doesn't always have to be one thing. And also you visualize it based off of the current jobs that you're doing throughout your day to make that shit happen, right? And so when you wake up in the day and you're about to do something that moves you towards that goal, visualize yourself having that thing completed in whatever way. Whether if you're working on a computer program, visualize yourself having done that day extremely well and added more features that bring your program to life, or whatever that might be. If it's developing another video for Instagram, visualize yourself looking at it, being really happy, having your friends comment on it, whatever that might be. Okay? Whether it's an art, it's the same thing. Visualize that piece of beauty come to life in all of its Michelangelo glory, etc. I should have used the example of the author because that's a really good one, but whatever. So before we continue to discuss what to use the plate with, let's right now quickly discuss why something might not work. So when it comes to your everyday manifestations, I'm not talking about long-term goal type stuff, because I think we've discussed that a lot throughout the whole Transurfing series around keeping importance low and around following the alternatives flow, etc. Let's talk about why your manifestations will not work using the plate. And one of the big reasons, one, I also want you to remember don't do it when you're anxious, actually frustrated, anger, afraid, etc., because you're charging that intention with that sort of same energy. But when it comes to regular stuff, there's a few reasons. The reason it's not going to work is probably two reasons. One is that importance is too high. You want that fucking thing too bad. Ooh, yes. Okay, I did not spell that correctly. I have this thing was a game changer. I have an amazing idea for how to reduce importance that's worked wonderfully for me. And then two, you didn't do it early enough. I don't know how to write this down. So you're already in the scene. So there's no hard way of kind of drawing the line when something has already taken place. So if your goal is far off, you're not going to be doing it just once. I mean, if you have that ability of knowing, yes, it could work, but it's going to require, the castle requires you to take it by relentless siege. So you're gonna have to do it over and over and over and over and over again. And so when something is kind of close enough, sometimes I've had things where I've literally activated the plate for things I would never imagine happening, just fucking literally seconds afterwards. And traffic, for example, is an example of where it's constantly moving and it's motion, and there's many different ways that it can play out. And so it can shift before your eyes. With other things, you're gonna have a little bit of time before you see that thing play out, right? Finding a parking space, that can happen right away because things can shift before your eyes. I can't think of an example right now where you'd wanna make a change with your reality, but that reel is already set into place and you didn't do it early enough. The other thing is importance is too high. You want it way too badly, okay? And a way of doing this, a way of reducing this importance is to be rude to it. Literally apply the rude technique. And I find this to be a fucking game changer. And so the idea of the rude technique is to be so insolent, so disrespectful, so rude to your goal that you knock it off its pedestal of unattainability and onto the dusty ground and stripping it of its importance so that you can kick it like a ball into an empty net. And I just like go like, I literally just have talks in my head. I'm like, who do you think you are? You think I need you? You need me. You're nothing. Like, why do I think that you're important as a goal? Who said that that you're hard to get? I'd get you on a Tuesday and it wouldn't change me. I do silly things like that, but honestly, it makes me feel good and I do reduce importance significantly. Okay, so these are the two main reasons why it would not work. And so if you have a bigger goal and something is relative that you want to actually get done and there's a bit of time between it, set it a couple times. Some things you only need to set it once, do the algorithm once, wake up, activate the plate, project the intention or the image. And sometimes you're gonna have to do it over and over again a couple times if it requires a little bit more illumination and power and energy in the alternative space to get done. Okay, cool. Now I have to change my battery on the camera. Now I'm gonna provide you with two really cool tools that you can also use the plate with, that you will use the plate with, that takes you from kind of passively wishing for something to change to actually composing your reality. And so there's two really cool tools, and you've heard me already talk about thought forms, and thought markers is the one that you haven't, and I'm introducing you to right now. Thought markers are much more powerful than thought forms. Thought forms they help you compose the new reality. But thought markers is what locks it in. Okay, so we'll give you an example. So thought forms are how you set the scene. They're conscious phrases or mental frames that you use while holding attention on the activated plate. So they help initiate momentum. They light the path before anything has actually shown up. So you can activate the plate and say something like, I speak with power. Power speaks through me. Every day, my body gets healthier, stronger, and more athletic. Every day, clients flow to me effortlessly. They might feel empty at first because there's no actual evidence to prove anything, and that's okay, because their job is to just sort of start the engine and not necessarily prove the destination. They're just to kind of help reality get into motion. And so that's a thought form, and I work with thought forms every single day. Thought markers, on the other hand, is how you actually close the loop. They could be confirmations from actual reality. It could be synchronicities or changes in your body or in the actual world of your life that actually show you that the script is responding. So once something happens, right, that you've been composing, you actually have evidence in any sort of way, no matter how small, activate the plate and say something in the corresponding fashion of, every day I really am getting closer to my goals. Every day I'm handling things better. I can actually see my skills improving. And so you're doing this with an activated plate. You could say things about your body, right? Like, I activate the plate and you go, wow, I really am getting in better shape. You step on the scale and you go, wow, I have lost 2 pounds. Wow, I really do feel stronger. Wow, people are reacting differently to me. I'm becoming more magnetic. Whoa, I just got 2 new clients this week. Easily. They all just came inbound. So together, they're sort of like a system, and I find this to be incredibly, incredibly powerful because one sparks the engine and the other one sort of stabilizes it and confirms it into actual reality. And when you're confirming something that it's actually moving in your desired direction, you're now basically introducing facts into your reality, into your perception of understanding that your reality is moving to the desired choosing. These are facts. When your mind is presented with facts, it then goes into knowing. In this stage, you're still in the belief stage. Things can't come into being when it's in the belief stage. This is the knowing. You're getting into knowing, and when your body knows it, when it has already experienced it, when it has already lived it, then the mirror has no choice but to respond. And you're doing that with facts. Facts is what introduces that into your being. And so that's why thought markers are so fucking powerful. And you've never heard about this before. These are kind of like your affirmations in some sort of way. And many people use this, right? But thought markers are incredible. Use thought markers, activate the plate, and indicate to your life that something is actually moving in your desired direction. You got 5 new followers this week and you're trying to build out your platform so you could spread your message to the world. Wow, people are really resonating with it. Activate your plate. Wow, I got 5 new followers today. That means that people are beginning to resonate with my message. It can only go up from here. You're beginning to go, oh shit, I'm catching momentum. It is inevitable for me to reach my goal. And so that's the difference between a thought form and a thought marker, but they're actually used as a system, a yin and yang, a fire starter and something that locks it in, stabilizes it, and confirms it. And the whole point is to go from belief to knowing by presenting your being and your mind with facts that you are actually moving in the direction of your desired reality. Cool, right? The plate can also be used for working on your body. Now, let's talk a little bit about this. So we are moving from an age of Pisces into an age of Aquarius. Actually, the timeline, we've already passed that point. What I say is that we're moving into is that the new world hasn't settled in yet. We're sort of through the transfer chain. We're going through the transfer process of that. And so things get a little bit dicey during that part because the old world sort of dies off and a new one gets rebirthed. That being said, what is happening is that the earth is elevating, for lack of a better term, elevating in its vibration. It is vibrating at a higher frequency, and it's asking us, for its inhabitants and the people of this world, to also meet it where it is going or where it's at, or be left behind. And you can see that in a lot of people right now, and particularly there's also in youth and a lot of people who should not be getting so ill. Physically ill and mentally ill. They're seeing a lot more depression, you're seeing a lot more physical illness. And that depression is coming from is because people are living identities and they're living lives that are not truly theirs. It's part of the old system, i.e. the matrix, i.e. the structure. And the structure is like a parasite and it's sort of fed on to the point where where it's sort of killing its host and it can no longer survive. And so the earth is asking for us to move in its direction, to vibrate at its frequency. And in that process, we need to also evolve, literally, physically, mentally, and physically. Spiritually, we're where we're at. We're always going to be perfect. But when it comes to this perspective and this realm, we also need to purify ourselves. And that is necessary through our food and also through our exercise and also the intake of various different types of information. That's a conversation for another day, but right now, one of the key points in this new era is that dormant DNA is now being activated. New abilities are possible. And well, anything is possible now. Now, we're not just going to ask for good enough in this world. Good enough is not good enough. We're going for the ultimate goal. Full-blown regeneration, evolution, and transformation. We have to be open to, and so one of the ways that you can work with this is when you work with the plate, where let's say you're taking some time in a meditation in the morning to start your day, and this is what I do. I'll just go over what I do and you do whatever you need to do and what is right for you. But in my overall process of working on my body, working on my skills and identity, and accumulating power, which I'll talk about in a little bit, and also working on my goals via my Plait work and visualizations and slides while I meditate. And I'm pointing over here because this is my big cushion that I sit on, big and comfy, cross my legs, get in the whole position and everything, on the throne between heaven and earth. I activate the Plait and I get myself into my body. I take a deep breath and I begin to scan my entire energy body. I take a deep breath in, I bring it in from the bottom, I swirl it through the head, I exhale stale, static energy, and then I breathe in fresh ether from the earth, from bottom, bring it to the top, rotate through my head and out my nose, releasing that stale and static energy. And I say to myself, while I keep my attention on the Plait, with vigor, with intention, with resoluteness, every single cell in my body is activated for my rebirth, my regeneration, my transformation and evolution for who I truly am in this realm. Every single day I get healthier, better and better and better. I get stronger, more athletic. I can run faster, jump higher. I can move better. I am taller. I am more attractive and magnetic. I seek power. I do everything with power. I love who I am. I'm so proud of who I am. I'm so grateful for this vessel. Thank you. And then I just kind of sort of like riff from there. But those are kind of like the main sort of starting point. And this is all about sort of activating that spark within you and bringing energy into the parts of your body and your system that you want to create and heal. And then you have to be open to outer intention presenting you with ideas. Manifestation, people have this idea that it sort of works like a miracle, where just like things just pop up and happen. Yes, true. But the funny thing is about reality wants to keep its continuity. It wants to never really reveal itself. It wants to look like it's always part of the film. And so there's certain, on set, in actual film sets, there's people who are there specifically for continuity, to point out the current elements within a current scene so that they're very similar to elements of a previous scene. Right? So make sure that the tie was blue and the tie was tied this way, or the cake was bitten from here, and so the same cake has to be bitten from there as well, so there's continuity. So reality wants that. And so that means that manifestations look like they were always going to happen, meaning you have to be ready to receive information from the outside world when presented with it. So if you're going to get in shape and get in the best shape of your life, you have to do the actual exercises. What manifestation helps with is you getting to the identity where it becomes effortless and joyful. For example, before I used to dread going to the gym and exercise. I like to play sports, but I was chasing after a ball. It was like a dog chasing after a ball. I was fine with that. But when it came to just exercising, doing different movements for no reason, I didn't really enjoy that. But then I changed my identity, and then new classes were presented to me, new ways of doing things were presented to me, and I just began falling in love with different ways of moving my body and getting into shape, and I became a dog at it. And I just love doing it. It gives me energy. It doesn't drain me. I get enlivened by it, and it's automatic for me now, right? It's just part of who I am. There's no doubt about it. I exercise. I'm that kind of guy. I go at least 4 times a week. The other element is you're not going to continue eating junk food. It's going to look like you eating healthy food, but you're going to be drawn more to it. You're going to have different diets presented to you. You're going to have maybe resources provided to you that allows you to purchase and shop for more holistic fresh, organic products. You might have various different insights or ideas about health protocols to take on. One for me was, recently that I'm doing right now, is a parasite cleanse with 2 drugs that I shouldn't bring up, but they are, I don't know if you can see this, I think it's this. I just don't want to get my shit flagged at this moment. I will take a riskier time later on, and I might even present to you what I'm doing when it comes to this. But I literally just came out of I'm in the 4th week now, didn't feel anything for the first 3 weeks. A couple days ago, I went through it like crazy in the middle of the night, sweating in so much pain, stomach twisted, diarrhea, all of this stuff. These are all symptoms of the die-off for the parasites. And now I feel absolutely amazing. I know it was the case because it was just like a windows of it was a couple days of like smaller symptoms, but the whole flu-like symptoms were just like hours within the night, 3 hours in the night. It's also freaking spiritual because I could literally feel, there was like a moment when it stopped and I could feel that energy literally leave my body. It was absolutely weird. I can't fully make sense of it, to be honest. Anyways, but this is something that was presented to me. You can't find this in medical journals. I mean, you can find this and this being used now for certain treatments, but not being provided protocols. It's like, it's a one-off. You treat this one particular parasite with this one hit of whatever the drug that might be, but not this like prolonged sort of protocol to help actually eliminate your body of these parasites. So be open to what outer intention is presenting to you. It could come from absolutely anywhere, both internal changes in terms of like desires, appetite, your appetite could decrease. You could increase your, what's called cravings for actual fresh and organic fruit, and forgetting like processed synthetic foods and not really desiring those anymore. So all of these changes come from various different directions. And so you have to go with that movement. And you actually also have to make some effort in that sense. But it should come more easily and effortlessly and also more enjoyably. And that's a way of working with your body and the plate. I highly, highly recommend it. I can't recommend it enough. It's absolutely fantastic, but also be patient with it. This is the thing, it's not gonna happen overnight. Please be patient. It takes time to make these amazing, miraculous changes because you're overriding a whole lifetime of poor habits. And there's always a delay in the mirror. And so this is a way of working with the plate to actually expedite things, but it's still gonna take a little bit of time. So be patient and also be relentless. Not grindy with yourself, just relentless in the process, right? Be persistent. That's what I mean by that. You can also use the plate to work on your self-concept and self-identity and certain skills that you want that new identity or self-concept to embody. For example, I'll just give you my example because I think that's the best way to describe it. Right now, I'm really working on moving and speaking with power and being and embodying the self-concept of being a teacher. I almost even have squirmish a little bit when I say a teacher because it kind of puts people on, like when people call themselves a spiritual teacher. For some reason I have a sort of ick when it comes to that. But that is basically at the end of the day, the identity that I'm embodying, but hopefully I'm doing it in another way that is a little bit more fresh. On the same playing field, these are just subjects and knowledges that I'm absolutely obsessive about. And it's more that I'm just discovering them, working with them myself, and just being excited to present and share them with the rest of the world because I know it's truly transformative and how beneficial it could be. But that's an idea that I'm embodying, right? Or an identity that I'm embodying. And in that process, there are certain skills that also come along with it, particularly the one that I'm working with now more, and I'm seeing incredible results in the ability to communicate, to be a better storyteller, to be more insightful, to present metaphors in a more eloquent way, to actually be a greater orator and not rely so much on scripts. In this entire process, I have, like this entire video, no scripts. I just have like a bullet point to remind me what the next thing I should be talking about is, but just going off the flow. And I find this to be, and I'm not there yet, wouldn't give myself an A+ yet, but I can see myself improving overall. And I have to thank the Plait and working with the Plait and doing that. And so one of the things that I do in the same setting when I work with my body and I sit on my comfy cushion and I get into it, I go through this process and I have this idea of being a myth maker. And I'll just explain, I'll just show you what it looks like. So I get again deep into my body, I get into the relaxed state. It takes me about 5 maybe minutes or so to kind of get deeply relaxed where I don't have the worries of the world sort of come in and no sort of irritations. And I'm fully within myself. I breathe deep within myself. I go through a process of also going through a mantra of deep breathing in deeply and saying, I move as the river. I build as the breath. I choose from the center. I trust the unfolding. I amplify life with my being. And then I go through my thought forms. I am a myth maker. I create masterpieces that awaken and inspire millions to reimagine their reality and realize how infinitely powerful they truly are. I speak from truth. I am a teacher. I'm a brilliant communicator, storyteller, and orator. I move with power. I walk with power. I speak with power, and power speaks through me. And then I might go through a visualization of imagining myself stepping on stage and just kind of delving into a scenario where it illuminates my success in this field. And I step also into that self-concept of that individual on stage, in the joyousness of the moment, in the gratitude of the moment, in the confidence of who I am and what I have created or what's been allowed for me to express. And so that's just something that I practice with in order to develop various different skills and also embody different concepts. And again, I work with thought forms and thought markers. And at the end of the day, I also will activate the Plait and speak to or highlight ways in which my reality shows up that confirms and locks in that my script is moving in the desired direction. There's that. And so please go ahead and work with the Plait when it comes to your self-concept, identity, and the skills that you want to develop, whether it's your own magnetism, attractiveness, whether it's your own communication skills or social media skills or whatever it might be. If I do a great video, not even a great video, if I do a video, I even call that out and I'm like, oh, I see, here's a way that I improved and I was using my true voice on this video. I might call something like that out. Instead of this kind of nasally, squeaky sort of voice that sometimes happens when I get too excited and not within my presence and calm and collected. So that is working with the Plait with various skills and your own identity. And there's one other thing that I want to bring up, and that is using the Plait to acquire more power. And we have this idea that this is not your first time around the sun. Well, not in terms of birthdays, but in terms of lifelines. And so this idea of past lives and incarnations and being able to acquire the power of past incarnations, not necessarily the particular skills, but maybe the essence of it. This is brought into our awareness via Tufti, but this also is apparent via mainstream art, like the animated series, The Avatar, The Last Airbender. At some point in one of the episodes, he actually taps into his avatar from a previous life, and then it shows him the lineage of all the other ones that he was able to tap into all of the powers to defeat some sort of monster or some sort of battle. I can't remember exactly, but when I heard about this concept, it brought me memories of that episode from The Last Airbender. And so you can see all of these wonderful connections from all over the world in different arts, in different art, and even in pop culture, and it's really cool. So this is a really easy thought form to work with. And I also do it in the sequence of when I am saying I walk with power, I speak with power, and power speaks through me. I stop there because the next sentence that I do is the following. Activate the plate whenever you're feeling, let's say, feeling a little bit smaller. You're able to tap in to the power of your past incarnations by activating the plate and saying to yourself, I declare my right. I return my power. I acquire the power of all my previous incarnations. And you can say this once or 3 times, however much you need to, and do it as many times as you need to throughout the day. And over time, you will feel that these words aren't just empty, but they're actually declarations, and it makes it heard for your past incarnations to bring forth their power to you. Over time, you will get stronger. You will do everything with power. You will seek power in everything that you do. And this is not the manipulative type of power. This is the power that truly creates worlds and sets your reality in the direction of your choosing. Your skills will improve. Your talents will improve. Everything that you do will acquire a new sense of finesse, of eloquence, of ease. Highly, highly recommend this particular practice. It will bring you a new power that just fills you with confidence. And then of course, you want to lock that in with a thought form when you do see your power increasing. And you activate the plate and you just say to yourself, I can see that my personal power really is increasing. And over time, it will compound and compound and compound, and you'll be a whole new person over time. Your ideal self. You'll be moving towards it. Really, you'll never really get there because we never stop growing. If we're not growing, we're degrading. So we're always reaching towards our ideal self. Give this one a try, but don't just give it a try for one day. You have to keep at it. All of this stuff takes practice and takes patience and persistence. This brings me to the end of this class, but you can use your plate for absolutely anything that falls within the umbrella of reality, even for protection. Say, for example, you're going on a road trip and you want to arrive at your destination feeling fine, refreshed, everything is safe and smooth. So just activate your plate, set the image frame, the projection that you arrive at your destination, and follow it up with the thought form that you arrived there feeling refreshed, traffic was clear, and everything went smoothly and clear with no mix-ups or irritations or frustrations whatsoever. Another thing is that you can set a protection around your house. And you do this by activating the plate and imagining yourself that you're in a bubble. And as you're setting the thought forms of my house is protected, my home is protected, my safety and my kids and my wife or whatever it might be are all safe under this cocoon. Nothing touches us, nothing comes in here uninvited. You expand that balloon to cover your entire home. And you can do this several times, whether it's in the morning or in the evening, for a few days until you feel completely assured and confirmed in your realization and resoluteness that your home is truly safe. Okay, and so that's it. There's so much that you can do with the Plait. Put it into practice. Oh yeah, there's one more thing. And the way that we put it into practice is in the following ways. So at the beginning, what I want you to do is make a habit of it. Okay? And in order to make a habit of it, we have to set the Plait for every single day things, right? Things that are always going to happen, things that are 100% certain. So as you go to work, set the Plait and activate the Plait and imagine you arriving at work, right? Imagine you arriving at work. That's gonna happen 100%, but like also add in the fact that you're gonna do there speedily with no traffic, everything's go smooth, and you're even gonna enjoy the journey there. Another one is going to the grocery store, right? Identifying and setting the thought form and the image that you got everything on your list, and even some stuff were on discount. So things that are 100% certain. In addition, you then move on to things that are 50%, say for example, right? And you do this because you're developing the habit. Set it for everything. Stop hoping for your reality to move in a particular way. Wake up and set it. Compose your reality. Then you do things for 50%. This can be like the parking spot that we referred to. I did this, I helped my dad find an apartment. This one's crazy. He was living in the countryside in Romania. He was getting ill and he couldn't drive anymore. So I had to live with him for a period, and we had to move him out of there because he couldn't drive anymore, so he couldn't get food or anything like that. We were having the hardest time finding an apartment because he was very specific. It had to be at the specific park. It had to be on the first floor. It had to be fully renovated. There had to be old men playing chess in the park. We had to see it with our own eyes. It had to be in a particular budget. It had all of these criteria that he wanted. We went for several weeks making trips to Bucharest and couldn't find anything. Eventually I was like, wait, why don't I set the Plait? Why don't I set the reality for this to happen? Because it's not just for him. You can't really set your intention and onto anyone else, but honestly, it was for me. It was for my reality too, because I wanted to move on with my life as well. And so I just set the Plait, and I imagine myself stepping into an apartment and having the feeling like, oh, the energy is good here. This is the one. I kid you not, 3 days later, I walk into an apartment that is literally on the edge of the park. You could not get closer into the park unless you were literally in the park. It was literally one street ahead, the size of a fucking room, from the one building to the beginning of the park. This beautiful park with a pond and everything, the exact park that he wanted. It was on the first floor, it was fully renovated, it was under budget, and we walked in the park and I was like, please let there be old men playing chess. There's a whole dedicated area that's fully covered that just has like set in stone marble chessboards where there was old men playing chess, backgammon, etc. It was absolutely remarkable. So I would call this something be like, I wouldn't say, 0% chance, but there's like 50% chance, like, right? There's sort of someone in the middle. And there's another ones where it's like a long shot. I'm not gonna call these 50%ers, but like long shots, like just whole Hail Marys, right? These are like long-term goals. These shouldn't be called long shots, but let's just say long-term goals. So you set them from at the beginning, you're focusing on these, developing a habit out of this, because we want to turn this phantom limb to be as common as your arm and your leg. The way that we now operate through life, not just with our actions of doing things physically, but also setting the intention with the Plait every single day for absolutely anything that we need. We're now learning how to operate within reality in a whole new way. This is the fucking shit that I'm talking about. This is the new age. We're spiritual beings. These are the mental faculties that we need to use in order to move through reality, dance with it, feel life upon our chest, to literally be true creators, to retake our birthright as children of God, as actual creators of our world. And this is the way that we do it, by setting the intention consistently, no longer hoping for something to happen and simply composing it. And we start by developing the habit. This is so important. So set it for things that are always going to work out, but maybe you want to add a little zhuzh, a little salt, a little spice, a little sense of ease, and then also do for things that are 50%, that you're, oh, I hope something happens. Don't hope, compose. And then you're going to do for your long-term goals, big goals. But these things could be like 3-5 years out, not even necessarily in a temporal sense, just like further out type stuff, right? I have big goals. So I have things that are far on out. So if you're gonna be an author, I love to bring up this example, you're not gonna go to New York Times bestseller without going through every letter of the alphabet. And it could be years until someone gets to a book. You're gonna set your intention and activate the plate. You're gonna visualize yourself being at a book signing of all your adoring fans lined up, ready to meet you with smiles on their faces, posters in their hands, with children beside them, just excited to meet with you. That's your target slide that you're gonna use the plate to activate and visualize every single day, multiple times a day. And then you're also gonna use the plate to set the intention to create the plot, the characters, chapter 1, 2, 3, 4, etc. To find the publisher, to create the marketing plan, to develop the cover. Throughout that entire process, you're not just any longer simply working with your mind and just rearranging bricks together, but you're tapping into the unfathomable force that rules the world and helping yourself along with that ore of pure intention. That force of the infinite intelligence is now walking with you. And this is why I love that line that I have in my own work, as I move with power, I walk with power, and power walks with me, right? Because I also have the speak with power, power speaks through me. Anyways, you get it, okay? This is the new way of how to work with reality. It is absolutely amazing. Try it out for yourselves. I can't wait to hear what you think and what you get done. Thank you so much. Have yourselves a beautiful rest of your day and happy holidays.